The Dreamers is about a Vietnam veteran, William Davis, who answers the call from an ad from gentleman scientist Elgin. I believe is how you pronounce his name. I don't have the audiobook. But he quickly learns some corners of the universe are best left unexplored. So, no lie, gentlemen, I had no idea what was going on when I first started reading this. I was confused.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
And multiple times throughout this story, I thought it was going to go one way, and it went a completely different way. And then it went another way all entirely.
Oh, yeah. If you're interested in listening to the audiobook, somebody uploaded it in 4 parts on YouTube for free. So I listened to this. I listened to this one on an audio version on YouTube, and I think the name is Elgin. Elgin.
Okay.
Yeah.
I read Elgin the whole time I read it, but that's just reading. But yeah. No, I definitely thought this book could go so many different ways when I was reading it. And I was pleasantly surprised.
I'll go ahead and shout out in our Discord that one house elf again. They put on there that they started by getting Mad Men Don Draper vibes, which great show, by the way. And then it quickly turned to Jacob's Ladder meets Color of Space, The Beach House, and then Slither also came to mind. That sums the story up perfectly. So, like, we have William Davis. He's a Vietnam vet with an eidetic memory who is now a stenographer. Mm-hmm. And he's the best at his temp agency, but he feels like there's something more for him out there. He notices an ad that asks for someone with a phlegmatic temperament, which means like someone that's calm, doesn't show a lot of emotion in stressful situations. And him being a vet, he felt mostly emotionless after serving in Vietnam, so he felt like he was like perfect for this. And I dig mad scientist stories. Are you guys into that at all?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
All right, sweet. Yeah. So like this dude, Elgin, he was like a character right up my alley. He was like self-serving in the name of his experiments, willing to sacrifice people's lives to prove his theories right. And he was the standout character for me in this story. He really kept me reading.
I feel like with a mad scientist, you have to kind of have like a mysterious side to you. And he was all about that. Like the main character, he didn't see him wear different clothes. He wore the same outfit every day. He never saw him drink anything. He only saw him smoke cigarettes, right? And all these, mysterious things that he was like, this guy's a little, off his rocker.
Yeah, he was definitely off his rocker, dude. He was a little bit weird, but the money was too good for him to pass up, and it was something new. So he was just happy to be there, give it a try. Elgin produced a drug that was considered like a light hypnotic. And he asked his patients while under the effect of the drug to study a picture of a red house with a green door. And when they dream, to try to go into the house and then describe what they see. So William's basically there to transcribe anything said or note anything of interest that happens as the patient's dream for a very generous sum of money, like I mentioned. But morally, he starts to question if these experiments are safe. And this is where I started getting heavily interested in the story, like when the experimenting started popping off.
Yeah. I mean, the first few people, nothing really happens. Like the first one, she kind of freaks out a little bit, but then the next 2, they said that nothing really happened, and they're just like, they went on their way, and you're just like, so is it how this person is that affects them in the different ways, or is it the threshold to being like, what could possibly affect them in these different ways to get them to what he says, lift up the floor and see what's under it? Like, and then you start seeing these things like the stench and stuff, and you're like, what in the world could that be? Like, and you don't really explore that until you get to the last person, Devereaux. And
right. Well, there was definitely like I was wondering throughout like what weird dream manipulation was going to come out of this, or if the drug's going to cause people to go insane or hallucinate, or if we were peering into an alternate reality. Like my brain was all over the place reading this. And one of the test subjects, one of the earlier ones, like they described her teeth growing abnormally large.
Yeah.
And then when she started coming to, they shrank back to size. And she described like underneath the living room floor, like you mentioned, Daniel, is like dark and smelling odd. And Elgin kind of took that to mean that she could access the reality beneath the dream, to which he theorized that dreams are just a barrier between humans and the matrix of existence. So he's like, okay, I have my first point. I can drive this experiment home. So we need some more test subjects. And like Daniel mentioned, nothing of note really happens. We get one guy who writes Vietnamese in his sleep, and it was like a message to William.
Yeah.
So then my brain, being like I'm always making predictions, I'm like, oh, it's demons. This is a possession story.
No, and my first time when they were talking about the woman, I literally thought my brain went to werewolf. Like, she's transforming into a werewolf, and like, so is this drug and this access gate, like, somehow like under to like release this primal like transformation in these people, and he's looking for the right ones. And because I was like, you think mouth coming out and everything, I thought literally like underworld like transformation and everything, and then it goes to the next one where it's like, okay, is it like a telepathy type thing? Not telepathy, but like a psychic, like, because William didn't say anything. They didn't know really William was there except for setting up. So, and then the Vietnamese part, like, how would they know that? So I was just like, where are they going with this? And then, like you said, the next two, nothing happens. And then you get this last guy who's the smartest of them all, apparently, who's like a mathematician professor. And he's the one who's able to really crack what's going on.
Well, like, Keaton, you were here last week for rattlesnakes, right? And like, much like with Vic and rattlesnakes, like crazy stuff's popping off and he's just hanging out. He ain't and leaving.
And even, later on in the story, and even while it's progressing, William talks about like, I know this is like, this dude is weird. These weird things are happening, but he's like, why didn't I leave? He's asking himself like why he didn't leave.
I'm asking him too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
You did not survive Vietnam, William, to die in Castle Rock.
Yeah, exactly. And I
don't know if any.
You go ahead.
Oh, I don't know if any of you all have seen Tusk.
I'm not.
Oh, it's a crazy Kevin Smith movie. It is literally where this guy who lives out in the middle of nowhere, he writes in a Craigslist ad basically looking for somebody who I can just tell my story to, who will listen. So you have the protagonist go out there, and it's just this mad guy who starts telling him the story about like living in Iceland with walruses and stuff, and finding the beauty in walruses, and then all of a sudden he drugs this guy and tries turning him into a human walrus. And that's the feeling I felt from Elgin the entire time. Like, dude, this guy is like going to take William. He's paying him and everything, but he's going to take him and be his last subject or something. Something's going to happen with this. Like, it was too good to be true.
I can see that like thought process while you're reading this, and especially like with that body horror theme that you mentioned in Tusk. Like, we get to our final test subject, Bert. And during the experiment with him, body horror is on full display. Like, my man's eyeballs turn black, they swell up, they split apart, and then those little black like tendrils fly out of his eyes and start running amok in the room where they run experiments. I wanted to say lab, but weren't they in like a bedroom? Like,
it was like a dining room.
Yeah,
it was a dining room that he split in half.
Right. Yeah. So, like, anyway, Bert dead, Bert gone, like, stuff's popping out of his head. It's over. William realizes Elgin just committed murder, and now he's like an accomplice. You didn't think he was dead? Bro, he died.
I thought it was all going to come back and everything was just going to go back to normal, and the guy was going to wake up and they're like, oh, well, this was crazy stuff. I didn't know he was going to die, and they were going to cover it up.
Yeah.
Oh, no, dude. Elgin goes like crazy horror science guy, starts bagging up the tendrils. Like, he don't care as a dead body.
Saying proof over and over again.
Yeah.
But the weird thing that got me was, whenever what's it? The last subject, Devro, is that his name? Whenever he went back to normal, he was still breathing though. So he was still breathing, but it was just like a husk of his body. I think that's how they explained it, which is super crazy because I kind of thought, just like Daniel was like, oh, maybe he's going to go back to normal, but then they just load him up in the car.
And Williams just like goes about his business and loads him up like nothing's wrong. Like, all right, I've got to figure this out and get rid of this body. Like, are you getting paid enough for that? Like, at this point, I would just be gone. Like, there's a dead body here. I'm gone.
Well, so like he can't just be gone at this point now. He's done had too many experiments pop off. Like a body goes missing. He's attached to this guy. So he's like, man, we're going to take him out to a rest station and make it look like an accident.
Yeah.
Dude, he thought it through.
He thought it through.
I know, he even went back at one point because he's like, oh, you know, something could have been off there. So he went back to where he left him at the rest stop.
And forgot his shoe. Like, he's like, oh, I dragged him across the hood. Oh, I forgot his shoe. I better put it back on so that way nothing looks out of place. Like, you've thought this through way too much.
Elgin having William was like the perfect thing. I think if it was anybody other than William, then they would have fell apart because he kind of like, he just like, you know, like you said, with like no emotion from, you know, the war and these experiments kind of making him feel something. He was hooked. You know, he couldn't leave.
Right. Yeah. He ends up going back to Elgin's house, and there's more of those like tendril-like monsters, but this time Elgin's like, you know, the victim of his own experiment, as a lot of mad scientists are, and they're like, the way it described it, like just covering his head, making his head look almost trash bag like, as they're covered with so many of these tendrils, and they all like kind of like rush the glass from the one-way mirror and spell his name out. And William's like, you know what, dude? Cool. I'm burning this house to the ground, which correct response to seeing some space stuff pop out of someone's eyeball. You burn it to the ground.
100%.
And then I liked how he thought about, like, okay, well, when the cops came after him at the end, like, oh, well, I didn't throw the lighter in all the way, like,
well, I mean,
how he set it on fire.
I think he mentioned, like, the cops just completely overlooked the lighter and the gas being the like, they just kind of overlooked someone caused the fire. He kind of just got away with it. And then he's like, well, I'm just going to go to Nebraska and live on this farm. And it kind of, he's like, I still dream of the red house with the green door to this day. Well, I bet you do, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw like,
I just wonder if he's going to be victim to it.
Yeah, it kind of leaves it open-ended in that, like, I think maybe it'll haunt them, but I feel like he killed all the tendrils and whatever. I feel like that drug he was administering was allowing people to interact with the reality on the other side of the dream. And that's what brought this monster over type deal.
Yeah.
So that's how I took it in the end. Like, yeah, he's haunted by the experiments, but he blew them all up.
Yeah, you kind of see that with a few of the ones, and You Like It Darker, where, you know, all this stuff will happen, but then in the end, everything just goes back to normal. They just have the experience of it.
Right. Yeah. This story is like on brand Lovecraftian horror, and King even references a Lovecraft novel in this short story. It's like, if this style of weird alien horror isn't your jam, then you probably won't vibe with this one too much. I love the mad scientist crossover bit of the story. I think this story was like the right length for me. I think it's only like 30 or 40 pages, and it wrapped up. Yeah. So it wasn't bad. It was a solid read, dude. If you're into this brand of horror more than I am, I could see this being one of your top stories of the collection.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, it was really good. It's short, and it leaves a lot of it gives a good bit of mystery. So, you know, and it's about dreams. You know, everybody has dreams. Everybody has nightmares. So it's something you can relate with and get in your head.
I mean, heck, I really thought with the drug, I thought more, since I have sleep things going on and take drugs. I kind of thought it was more of this is going to help you relax, and the picture had something to do with it more than anything.
I want to say, Daniel, you are narcoleptic, right? Narcolepsy, so you take medicine for that?
And that's literally what I thought about when this medicine was going on, because literally I take a drug at night that is, and they said what they smelled it. That woman smelled it, and she's like, this is mostly water. He's like, yeah, it's straight up mostly water. And that is what I take at night, is basically a drug with mostly water, and it puts me through a normal sleep cycle. And then I take it again, puts me through another sleep cycle. So kind of that I've really related to, okay, they're taking this medicine and and they're like, oh, it got the best sleep of my life. I had the best nap of my life. I didn't experience anything, but I slept so good. I really just was like, man, I wonder if that is something. It's maybe not about the drug. It's something going else on. And dreams really affect me anyways, because I lucid dream like crazy. So I was very into, okay, what are their dreams meaning and everything.
Do you keep like a dream journal, dude?
I don't.
Have you ever seen the reality beyond your dreams?
I have.
Fantastic. All right, guys, it's time for the lightning round. So my first question I'm going to throw up here, I don't have the technology Justin does to put it on the screen every week. So I'm just going to ask you boys, who is your favorite mad scientist if you have one? What you got? We'll start with you, Daniel.
Oh, I would probably say, Dr. Frankenstein from Young Frankenstein even. Like Young Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein. My favorite.
Nice answer. Kiwi?
Mine's more of a fun one. It's Megamind from the Megamind movie. the kids movie.
No, it's all good.
That's fair. Dylan, do you have one, man?
I do. So like Keaton, I'm gonna bring it back from my kid, my childhood, and I'm gonna go with Dr. Doof from Phineas and Ferb.
Oh,
Good one.
heck yeah.
Heck yeah,
Dude, I
dude.
love Doof.
All right, man. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do a more modern one of Mad Scientist just because I really liked the movie and he was excellent in it. I'm going to go ahead and throw it up to William Dafoe's character in the movie Poor Things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
His mad scientist role was fantastic. That would be mine. All right, we're going to jump into the next question is how much money in 2024 would it take you to sign up for an experimental drug in some random rich scientist dude's house? You have no knowledge of the experiment. He's just like, here's a bag of cash. Take this.
I think I'm doing it for the $800.
That's all it takes in 2024, $800 bucks.
2024.
We could probably start a GoFundMe, dude. We can get something popping.
$800 just to go in there and sleep, and maybe something will happen. Maybe
I'm
something won't happen.
Ugh. See, but you have no idea what he's trying to do, too. What drug he's going to give you.
That's true.
I'm saying $50K.
$50K.
I can pay off at least some stuff for my wife if I die or whatever. And
Dylan, what about you, dude? You're shaking your head like it
Well,
wouldn't take that much.
I'm gonna need you gotta at least throw me a mill. Like no way.
I mean, if it's like Keaton said, you're just taking something, you're going to have the best sleep of your life. Maybe some tendrils pop out of your eyes. Maybe they don't. You leave $800 richer, man. I'm not doing it at all.
Oh,
You're not gonna do it at all.
I have kids, man. I can't be taking experimental drugs.
Yeah. Well, so did
isn't everything
the-
experimental?
No, man, it's got to be approved. Especially in some random mad scientist's house. Like, yeah, no way, dude. All right, dude. Last one for this one. Favorite cosmic horror or Lovecraftian style movie? Do you guys have one, Daniel?
Off the top of my head, I don't.
Nope. All right, dude. No big deal. It's a niche genre. Keaton?
It really is in this genre. I don't know a lot about it, but the one I do know is Cthulhu. So I'm
Yep.
going with that one.
There
Big
you
old
know-
tentacle guy.
I think Stephen King's The Mist might be considered that cosmic horror.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Dylan, you got one?
I don't really know what kind of genre that would technically be. Does Predator count?
Does now.
It does now.
That's more of a.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, that's more like sci-fi, I guess.
They're
But
from,
like,
they're
I
from
mean,
space.
it's cosmic.
It's kind of like gothic sci-fi style horror.
Yeah.
It's like it's a weird fiction almost, or eldritch horror, like Keaton mentioned, Cthulhu. Mine is going to be one more recent. I don't even know if they consider cosmic horror. I'm going to consider it. Somebody could tell me, Nerdy Reed, you're wrong in the Discord. I'm going to go with the movie Nope. That movie.
Oh, I would say that's probably pretty close, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the movie Nope. I think that was a really solid one. I actually went to the theater multiple times for it, really enjoyed it. But
And is that the one where it's the giant thing? up in the
Aliens
sky?
and
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
it was.
over the little ranch. So, guys, 3 words to close out The Dreamers. Keaton.
Proof.
Daniel.
All the drugs.
And I'll go Never Sleep Again.
That's a
All right.
good one.